Sick children in Russia are asking for money, and there is no government support. So this is quite lame when your people live in poverty. Just do something for your country. You don't care about your own country. How could you just invade Ukraine?
How does this affect your personal life with the war? Because basically, it seems like people had to choose sides, right?
To be honest, you don't have to choose anything in my country because there is only one right side.
From what I was reading, I heard that 1 in 4 Russians people have like a family member or a distant relative that's Ukrainian.
Yeah, of
So you
course.
guys are like really close.
Yeah, and I don't understand where this hate came from. Like, we were friends, and at one moment you decide we're enemies.
I am Jacuzzi, Life Like a Movie Dreams, and this is Maybe It's a Podcast. And I have a special guest that concealed her identity so she can have freedom and liberty to speak because where she come from, they don't have freedom of speech just like in America. She's a Russian citizen, and we're going to use her name as Fox for this interview just to give her Fuchs in German, Fuchs, to give her privacy. All right, so Fuchs, tell me how you get here and how'd you come to Thailand and give me a little brief of your story.
So that was quite an idea, and it was planned all along. Like, I needed some rest from like the oppressive government and from the atmosphere in the country as well. So I need just something for a change. And Thailand seems to be quite a nice country for a freelancer, which I am. I think
Freelance in what field though? Because
I think
freelance is very
I would
vague.
also like to hide some fields. Let's say I do arts, and that's enough for everyone to know what I'm doing for life. Here I came to relax, to find some friends. Also, I have friends from abroad, and I requested some visas to visit them as well, and probably do some like profitable things as well.
Okay. So you said we had met previously, and we talked about various of different topics, and you were telling me about like criminals that become like heroes to the citizens due to the fact that they go to war and whatnot. And it was very intriguing, and I want you to touch bases on that and tell me what's going on because in America we don't know much about Russian anything politics or how they live or whatnot because we see you as just the enemy. I think the last movie or like my first memory of like Russia was like Rocky and then Drago, you know what I'm saying? And,
Yeah.
and in that movie, y'all look like some cold, even the women looked at cold. She had like a chiseled chin. I don't even know who she was, but she was beautiful, but I wouldn't want to see her in the ring either. So it was like, had this like, I don't know, like you guys always had like this villain type of vibe in movies though.
Yeah,
So-
of course, but I have to admit to everyone that Russian villains are smart at least, and they're not so easy to be defeated, which is true as we can see now. Well, yeah, we have one great villain in our country who is the leader. And of course, talking about and highlighting the topic about imprisonments and convicts became heroes. It's a fact that is a thing in Russia, simply because not everyone is so easy to be caught and summoned to army. Also, a lot of like good thinking people left the country, and because most of them were IT staff and such. Of course, IT is quite likable profession all over the world, and apparently a big part of brain in Russia has left the country, and now people have what they have. And of course, the vast majority of companies are trying to hide their employees, so they are not get summoned. Like they give them some other higher positions, maybe on a paper, so they won't get summoned.
And what you mean by summoned? Summoned for the what?
Summoned for war, of
So,
course.
well, of course,
For
we don't know.
sorry.
You speaking to us as Russians. Think
Yeah.
about you speaking to the world, and speak
Yeah.
as if I don't know because we had these conversations before.
Yeah. I just thought it's like
No, it's not common knowledge. It's
yeah.
not common at all. That's why we're having the podcast.
Well, maybe if you just check some history and
No,
how
no, no, no,
like
no, 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 no,
Germans
no,
were
no.
summoned to serve
Yeah.
their army
Yeah.
military. So that happens here as well. Also, despite the fact that some laws are being broken by summoning people to go to the military, I mean, now they also accepted a new law, which makes you sign the summon letter, even if you have no physical copy or anything. We have a government site where you can pay your tickets, check your taxes, and like a governmental site where you can just do some errands, your personal ones, or maybe request some documents you need, like birth certificate or passport or international passport. So this kind of site of services government gives people. And pretty much everyone is registered in that system because, well, it's modern future. We all use our phones, and it is way more convenient for us to check all the information regarding your utility payments or such in your phone with one app only. And of course, this app is also trap because now if you are a male which can go to army and you receive a notification that you are summoned, you don't have even to log in and open it. It will be in your phone, and if you don't go to army by yourself, coming to those military stations,
Okay.
so they would just come for you, and if you are not found, of course, they might find you other ways, and then they will put you to jail because you like disobey the government requests, and it is your duty to go and serve your country. So that's how it is, and now it is even harder to escape the summoning to army, though I know a lot of my friends did. Some went abroad, some of my friends are hiding in villages and rural areas where not registered or documented that they were in this area anyway. One of my friends has been hiding for a year, maybe, or more, maybe two, since he was summoned. And he doesn't want to risk, he doesn't want to go to war. But on the other hand, we have a lot of brainwashed zombies. Why do I call them zombies? Because now in Russia there are two letters, which means like go for war. It's V and Z, which is
And
quite
Z is
weird
pretty
because
bad.
it's not a Cyrillic letters anyway. Like, we are against the West, and still our sign is in Latin letters.
Which side do you choose as far as if you support the war? Would it be Z for support and V is that you don't?
Maybe no. Z and V are both signs, which means you are for military.
Oh, Z and V.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
okay.
that's why we
For
call them
military.
zombies, because zombies are brainwashed.
Okay.
Zombies is dumb, and they don't have to think. And if you think, actually, the situation is scary. Let me just open some facts I shared just for this podcast to show you. So about the zombies and why actually they don't think by themselves and they don't have a critical thinking at all is that, well, just imagine there is a family, for example, mother, father, two children. Father gets summoned to war. Father dies. Father has maybe father and mother as well. He has wife, he has children. And the compensation for one dead person is 5 million rubles, which is
5 million rebels is the
Yeah.
compensation if you die or have like a
for your
injury.
family, but it's not for each and one member of the family. The sum has to be split for everyone, no matter how many relatives this.
So it's divided
father
as a
has.
household.
Yeah. Also, the compensation for each month, which is like probably $200, which is not much.
$200, that's how much they get
month.
paid?
Yeah.
Who? The family or?
But the government pays the family, like the wife, and also it offers 2,000 rubles, almost 3,000 rubles. It's the compensation for children. But 2,000 rubles, I must admit, it's about $30.
$30.
Yeah, a month.
So you're talking about this is after someone dies in
Yeah.
the war, they
Yeah.
get this compensation,
Yeah.
and for how long? Up to to 500,000 rebels?
Um,
Or this is for like the rest of their life, they get this money,
I guess
like allowance or
I
something.
guess that's some sort of allowance. I'm not this deep into the topic. That's just what I know, but I'm not sure for how long the family will get compensation. It just depends, I guess.
How does this affect your personal life with the war? Because basically, it seems like people had to choose sides, right?
To be honest, you don't have to choose anything in my country because there is only one right side. And if you just open up your mouth for telling people that maybe we will think that nobody actually attacked us and we are invading the other country, isn't that just logical? It's so simple. Like you can defend your own country being in your country or being in somebody else's country. How could you defend your own country this way? It's just, it doesn't work like that. And somehow people believe that the war was started because of NATO was going to join the Ukraine and attack us first, even though everyone knows it wasn't going to happen. But I think that our great leader just needs some reasons just to attack the Ukraine because it's been happening for quite a while, since 2014. And yet he decided to open up the fire like the real way, like attacking the whole Ukraine, not just some parts.
So I want you to go into detail about like that instance about your friends and how that impacted you. You was telling me that you had some situations because like some people support, some people didn't. And you were telling me a story about what happened to you because of this.
So my personal life was damaged, of course, because sanctions affect all of us, and especially that I am used to work with foreign customers all over the world. The situation with getting money became harder simply because with the war, less people have money, commission stuff. Also, less ways to get money because PayPal put on sanctions.
So can you name like some of the things that you can't use no more? Like what was like you no longer like was sanctioned or whatever?
Well, most of the things like Apple Play.
Apple Play you can't use. What else? Netflix gone.
Netflix gone. Also, a lot of products and
McDonald's is gone.
McDonald's?
I heard it. Yeah, I heard y'all don't got McDonald's
2 years
no
with
more.
no McDonald's.
2
Yesterday
years.
I had a meal.
Yeah.
That was something special.
I heard it's called in English tasting point or something like that. If you translate it.
So also we don't have some cosmetics, some medical support as well, like some cancer treatment, some dermatology treatment. Even pets don't have the vaccinations. Like we have foreign jabs for pets, like against rabies and other diseases like plague and rabies. But now we don't have them anymore. We have to order them via Turkey or China. So we are searching for same drugs for pets, let's say. Also, we can't travel as easy as we used to anymore. Like 2 years ago, I was in Germany, and the first time I went here was so easily. I just spent like 2.5 hours in plane. And the second time when I went through Turkey with the 2 layouts, it took me like 14 hours, like I was traveling to Cuba or somewhere Caribbean. Not just in Germany. And same with Thailand. I had to travel through China, which wasn't very comfortable. Their transit zone sucks a lot. It was extremely long and hard.
But what about you? Told me a situation that you had a friend that you used to have a history with, and then
I used to have a friend from Ukraine, and sadly, I have noticed that more and more people are getting mentally sick due to the stress, due to the atrocities happening around them. And my friend was no exception from the case. She felt worse and worse mentally, and at one moment she just canceled friendship with all her Russian friends, even though she knew that our position is similar to hers. But however, she decided it would be just easier to cancel the friendship. I can blame her in any way. I can feel her there, and I would be quite open if she changes her mind. Also, situation in Ukraine is also quite hard. I have a friend who's married to a Ukrainian guy. And to be honest, that ever since she was married, she never felt a real person in Ukraine either, because she can't get any bank cards, any medical help, like pretty much nothing, even SIM card, because
she can't even get that.
No, and they don't give her a Ukrainian passport. They just gave her like a residential permit to live there. She really wants to leave because she's quite tired from the situation, that she has no friends. She's pretty lonely. Also, the bombing everywhere, and well, the situation is scary in general. And she's quite upset and depressed that she can't just leave. Like, she can't buy a ticket and get on a train and leave this place. She also moved some of her pets with her, and now it is even harder to move with her, and she's just waiting for the right time. Well, yeah, that's how like this war affects people and their relationships as well. Some Ukrainians get blamed for living in Russia. Some Russians get blamed for living in Ukraine, though I think it's crazy because we are all the same. We are pretty much the same nation.
Yes, and I was from what I was reading, I heard that 1 in 4 Russians people have like a family member or a distant relative that's Ukrainian.
Yeah, of
So you
course.
guys are like really close,
Yeah.
or just
Yeah,
like
of
maybe like
course.
cousins or somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's pretty much it. And I don't understand where this hate came from. Like, we were friends, and at one moment you decide we're enemies. Like, how come? How could some idiot in charge just change your mind about your relatives, your friends? And I must admit that some people, like some families in Russia, are getting apart because of their confronting views on the case. Because, like, elder generation thinks Putin is doing the right thing. Younger generations, of course, realize that some shit goes on, and there is no logic, there is no sense, so have to go and die for nothing. Like, that just doesn't make sense. And so, yeah, there are just two views. Elderly ones are mostly brainwashed, and of course, they watch TV all the time.
Okay, and this is what I probably want to talk about is like, what happened if you talk against it, against the war? Like, what would be the repercussions in amongst the people, and then also too, like socially or whatever. Like, if you type something on social media, what could happen to you?
Well, it depends how many snitches and friends you have. Yeah,
Y'all got
of course.
snitches out there?
Yeah, there are snitches everywhere. I think that's a Russian thing in some way. Like in
Yeah.
Soviet Union, people
Yeah.
tend to snitch on each other. Like Stalin's portrait was hung in front of the toilet. That's disrespectful. Go to Gulag. So pretty much the traditional way. That's a nervous laugh, you know. I don't mean it. But anyway, I have to admit, snitches are everywhere, and you have to be to keep your mouth shut for your own good.
But like what, like example of, do you have any stories of like somebody post something and then what happened to them or something?
Well, I know some stories that, well, there is a new law now. There are
Okay.
so many new laws now.
Okay, well, just describe one so we can
Yeah.
understand, because we don't.
And
Yeah.
this law is about discriminating Russian army.
Okay.
And by discriminating, it means like pretty much anything that's so vague, it's so blurry, you can do anything. And like to, as we could say in Russia, to sue this on you, like to sue this law break on you.
So if you say something towards the army, what could they do? Do you saying somebody could snitch on you, and then if they snitch, who they snitching to? They telling the KGB or what? What's going
They
on?
just do reports on some police or other highest like departments and facilities they can appeal to. But usually it just depends also on your status. Like if you're a celebrity or something, of course you'd be punished badly by the government. If you're just a local, like every normal person, average, if you're lucky, you will pay a fine.
A fine, and how much would that be? Roughly.
Let me check this information.
Yeah, I'm curious to say, because you guys don't have like a freedom of speech, so that's why a lot of this stuff is not like said.
Yeah, that's why everybody thinks that Russians are all brainwashed and stupid. So minimum fine for discrediting Russian army is 100,000 till 300,000. 100,000 is about $1,000.
$1,000?
Yeah.
So you can be fined up to $1,000 for talking against the army?
Yes, or 10 till 15
years
in
in
prison.
jail.
Yes,
10 to,
years
15, or
in prison.
10 to 15 years in prison. Wow.
Yeah.
Just
So
to talk about the army.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
That's why everyone is better to shut up.
Shut
Like,
up.
who wants to
Okay.
go to prison out of nothing?
Hmm.
Of course, and furthermore, there is.
Was there any like reporters or anything that was killed that was talking against the war?
Well, you know about
Or
Navalny, right?
I don't know Navalny. You keep saying you know, but I don't know
Oh, come
Navalny.
on. Navalny was leader of the opposition, of Russian opposition.
Okay.
But, well, he was in Germany. He uploaded a movie about Putin that he was quite like a badass, like he scammed all Russians and he built a huge palace at the Black Sea. And this is where taxes go on, you see, guys. And Putin got very, very angry.
Hmm.
So Navalny, for some reason, decided to go back in Russia, and there he found his death eventually.
Wow.
So yeah, he was tortured for 2 years after he was caught.
So what did Navalny say something towards Putin or
Well,
what
of course, he wanted people to open up their eyes, to wake up, to show that something's wrong is happening in
Mhm.
Russia, that no president sits in their chair for 20 years, let's be honest.
Yes, I understand that.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
it's more like a king or something.
Yeah, like a dictator.
Yeah, a dictator. That's how it is. He just sits there. He doesn't want to move away. He only let his close friend to be a president for a period, and that's all.
And then Navalny was talking against him, and then what he moved out of
Yeah,
Russia.
he did some investigations against Putin and corruptions against his friends and gangs. Like he was making videos about their villages, like their country houses, like very lavish places, huge, full of gold. Meanwhile, their sick children in Russia are asking for money, like from everybody, and there is no government support. So this is quite lame when your people live in poverty, die from diseases, and you just sit in a castle drinking your, I don't know, 100 years old wine, and you feel just comfortable and strong. Just do something for your country. You don't care about your own country. How could you just invade Ukraine?
And then he came home and they found out and they just assassinated him.
Yeah.
Where'd they kill him at? Whether it was at his house or
Well,
what?
of course, nobody says they killed him
They
because,
said it was a suicide
of course,
overdose.
they say it was a bad heart.
Yeah, he died of a
But
heart attack.
yeah, of course, but it's everybody in Russian prison dies from bad heart, even though they were tortured.
So he went to jail. He came back. So they threw him in prison when he came back.
Yeah, of course, they throw him in prison. Also, they put him in like separate cell. They didn't turn on lights in his room, so he was tortured by the sleep
darkness.
deprivation. He was tortured with maybe some temperature. Like Russia is all about tortures in prisons, and it's not the first case I've heard about authorities abusing
Their power.
convicts in a bad way, leading, of course, to the death. And in most cases, it is made like you spend your whole sentence there, and in a few months, the convict dies. 18 months or so, like before they get free. So that's kind of a cruel joke from them.
Okay. So basically, they torture you inside while you serving your time. And then when you get close to your time of exiting, they basically torture you to the point that you die before you even leave.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so you don't really have a chance to.
Yeah, and it is hard to say anything against them, to do something, because you're just separated from anything.
Separated from everyone.
Yeah, from
Now let's
everyone.
talk about let's move forward to the criminals and like how they did like harsh things and then they were sentenced. Like, there was a couple of cases that you showed me in the article.
As the article here states, that a lot of cases has been happening in Russia since the convicts were summoned to war and then get pardoned.
Well, hold on. When you say convicts summoned, how can they be summoned? Do they have a choice to?
Yes, they have a choice. They can sign a contract. Either they go to the toughest parts of war.
Yeah, difficult.
Points.
Deadly. Yeah.
Yeah. Either they can stay in prison and rot there. So most of them think that it's a good opportunity. Why not?
Yeah.
So Let me tell a story about a person I used to know. He got in prison because of the drugs. No idea what exactly. Either he had some on him and police got him, either he was selling them, no idea. But he spent in prison about 6 years or 7. Then the war has started, and he decided that he can try himself and go to the war. So, which he did, and now he's a hero, not a drug dealer, not a drug addict. He's a hero. He has a medal. He has compensation because he got injured. He has no food.
Yeah, no, he lost his foot.
Yeah, he lost his food, but now he has money.
Now
He
got
has
money.
a wife now
Oh, we got
because
one.
nobody wanted to be with just a criminal. Now he's a hero.
Yeah.
He has a wife, he has money, he has a medal, and he's a good guy. And he has no criminal history at all in his
Got
profile.
wiped out.
Yeah, it was wiped down, so now he can find a job. It's an easy case, but the hard case is when pedophiles, serial killers, rapists, and murderers,
Yeah, so that was one of the cases. It was one.
they
that you were
they go
telling me
to
about.
war. They do pretty much what they did in their own country. They were killing people. But now
You got one of their names? Well, that one of the guys, because there was one guy in there that was wild. I'm tough with pronouncing names, especially with Russian. That the guy was very heinous.
42 years old, Alexei Serov.
Alexei Zirov?
Serov.
Okay, Zirov.
He was in Wagner troops, and after he came back from war with a pardon, and
What was the does it say what charges that he had and stuff before?
he was charged for murder.
Murder?
Yeah.
Okay.
He killed a sister of his girlfriend also.
Yeah, it is.
And actually, the cases like that are not rare. There are around 107 cases which happened ever since the convicts were given the opportunity to get a pardon by serving in military. And that was not only one case. There were cases that pedophiles were attacking children and insulting them. And also they got, of course, back to prison right away. A lot of many murders and also robbing and such. That just some cases.
Yeah, it was this one guy that I remember reading in an article that was a convicted criminal, and I guess maybe charged with murder or something, that went to war and then came back, and then I guess he went to his town and he told them, like, I guess, shut up, and like he wanted to control them or whatever. And he
Probably,
said that even if you call the police, I will go to war and come back
Yeah,
and
I
do it
have my
again.
medal.
Yeah, I have my
I'm
medal.
a hero.
I'm a hero.
Yes. So
Yeah, who was that guy? Who was that guy? So basically,
But, of
like,
course,
these
this-
criminals were finding loopholes.
Yeah. Of course they can, and of course they can defend themselves against rumors and such. Like, I'm a hero. You are discrediting Russian army, by calling me names. Because, like, it's so easy to make a problem.
Do you know how many cases where they were pardoned and then committed another crime?
107
Yeah, 107.
so far.
Yeah, 107. That basically some murderers got out and then committed another murder or
rob
or the
whatsoever.
hard R word.
Actually, the problem is that the most darkest and most rotten garbage of prisons are getting thrown as cannon meat.
Cannon meat.
Cannon meat. So they're used as cannon meat because everyone hopes they just die there and they won't get any pardons, but they do. And that's the problem for healthy society, that as long as so many convicts get back, the most horrible convicts, like, murderers, pedophiles, rapes, and robs, and like robbers and such, since they are going back, that's the problem to the healthy part of society, and especially for the weak ones, like children and women, who are getting the most effect and the most repercussions from when the heroes arrive back.
So how do you feel about Russia as far as like what's going on in the economy and just the life style? Like, where do you see the direction going as far as because you guys are in a war now, you guys have so many sanctions, and you're going against Ukraine that is supported by the strongest, most biggest, most expensive military in the world. And what do you think is going to look like in the future to come, next 5 years or so?
Well, it's hard to say. It just depends on what happens next. Like, I just hope that Putin dies, but even if he dies, nothing changes because one of his gangsters will get in charge after him. And I think they actually had decided who will be next just in case. So it would be just a never ending story, I believe. If you just take a look at the Russian history, Russia looks pretty much like deeply diseased person with cancer. Sometimes they have remissions. Sometimes they feel better, but mostly it's about disease. Like you feel sick, nobody's happy. If you see that Russian nation isn't really a smiling nation, like Thai people or Germans or Australians who smile all the time. For me, it is really hard to smile back when I see Europeans smiling at me. I just think that how shall I react? I think that my smile looks so fake when I try to smile without a reason. So that's what happens. And on the other hand, probably situation changes somehow, and maybe a revolution, like when Russian people decide that it's enough to tolerate the bloody dictator, like Russian history again repeats once again. We have like some leader, we have a revolution, we have some fine times, we have a revolution, we have fine times, we have a revolution. All the way it happens. So I think probably another revolution, either we keep living under these hard conditions and of course nobody opens up their mouths, hate people for being this quiet, this tolerant, and like seeing people in France have their like protests and they fight for their rights. There were some cases when people, train drivers just stopped working at all, and that was their protest. That was the unit they have. And we don't have this kind of unit. That's the problem.